Alright, guys. Well, my microphone's over here. Sorry. Alright, guys. So, back here on Tomboy Official. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Um, I posted the wake up segment. Um, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about some cash flow related topics as I'm hydrating this morning. This is the hydration segment. I don't know. I know everyone's schedules are kind of different from mine, but this is what I prefer to do in the morning because it's like it's probably one of the more productive things I could do while I'm still kind of like taking a bit to kind of like get settled in the morning. Um, I don't really want to get up and like do a lot of physical activity, which I could do. That does sound like it would be a pretty good idea actually to do that. Um, but I haven't lately. So, yeah, I just kind of record stuff that I feel like is a little bit productive. I want to talk about some things, kind of a little bit on that money related end of things. Um, I had $40 come in. It's not a whole lot of extra cash, but I didn't even know it was coming in. So, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. It was from that EPMS Ellis Online. I think they call it Grace Hill Company, something like that. I don't know. Uh, but that apartment mystery shopper, I guess I did a gig after um the pay sheets were due. Like you don't have to turn them in on your own, like, but they just calculate it. So I guess I did a gig sometime after, like, um, I don't know when it would have been, like sometime after September 2nd or September 7th. I don't even remember where where I went or like what I viewed, but whatever, they paid for it. So um they're not, some of them aren't really memorable. uh so whatever the last one was that I viewed, I really don't feel like it was memorable for me. I don't think it was far. I really just don't remember. I really don't recall like at all. I might have recorded about it, but I really don't recall what it looked like or anything. But $40 is $40, so whatever. Um, so that was cool. I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, can you make money podcasting? Uh, the answer isn't gonna be no, but it's not an easy yes either. Um, I think it really depends how much you plan to post, what you find a market in to post about. Um, if the topics you post are going to get kind of banned on certain platforms or flagged for any reason, uh, I gotta be honest, like posting anything LGBT related, I do feel like the content does get um somewhat, either not promoted or it's hidden in some way. Like I feel like um if you're if you're not already connected to this podcast, I don't think it's just going to organically like pop up sometimes depending on the topic. The ones about like money and finance related things, like those episodes seem to do okay. And if it's helping people, I'll keep posting them when I have something to say. It's just I'm a little scattered about it. I do plan on trying out some of the some of the little side gigs that some of these people online talk about. I used to do that. I've done that before. Just like had a little project where I was like, let me test out some of these like survey things or whatever and see if they actually make any money. Um, and a lot of times, I guess the issue with most of those is that you don't get, they don't provide you with enough to actually make a lot of money. Like you can sign up for something and it's not available. Like the last thing I signed up for, I think I talked about it on here. I was going to sign up for it, which I did do, and then they weren't accepting applications in California. So stuff like that where it's like either they're not accepting the applications or you sign up and then they're like, "We'll send you gigs," and then they like never do and then you forget about it and then they send them, or maybe they will send them and it's like way later and you just like don't see the message because you've forgotten all about it because it was like 8 months ago or something when you signed up, and you weren't hearing back from them at all anyways. Like I feel like usually after about a week, if you don't hear back, you kind of usually just forget about it and just like assume that, okay, I just, I don't know, maybe they're, sometimes I feel like they're using these sites. I don't know, it's my little paranoia in me, but I know how the internet works, and sometimes I feel like they're using some of these sites to like capture emails and like send you junk mail or send you a bunch of stuff and like market to you. I don't feel like they're really trying to um actually help you all the time. Like there's a select amount of people, like they can't just not help anybody, right? So I feel like there's a select amount of people they have to like give gigs to, because then otherwise people are going to catch on that nobody gets gigs. Um, but then I feel like there's a lot of people that never get gigs, but then you'll still be getting like messages from them and stuff or like whatever. Um, or they'll just sell your information to some other random thing. And then cookies as well. It's just like, oh my gosh, like you gotta like remember every time to like reject all the cookies and stuff. It's like it's so annoying. The internet is becoming such an annoying place for me. I feel like almost every app I go in, well, especially on like my laptop, like desktop version, I've it can't just be me. When you go onto your software lately, whether it's Microsoft Office Suite or whatever, or Canva or TikTok or Twitter or whatever, like see if you see pop-ups like these, not like virus pop-ups, but like the pop-ups that just like these kind of little windows that pop out. Like I have one on my LinkedIn that keeps popping out, and then there's you know other stuff that's just like it keeps popping out like every time, and I'm literally just on there trying to like you know write something on Microsoft Word, and then it's like, oh, there's this whole new section now, or like on Google, Google Sheets or something, Google Docs, and you're just like, there's some other window that like pops up to like tell you some other thing or whatever. Like it's just everything I've been using lately has some other distractive quality to it where they're just like popping up new stuff. I'm annoyed with it because I spend a lot of time online because I have to. But talking about like if podcasts make money, it's a slow game. Uh, and right now there's a lot of changes going on coming up in my time at 9 p.m. Spotify for podcasters is gonna have a um some kind of webinar. I don't know what you really call it, but I think it's gonna be at noon Eastern and 9 p.m. uh Pacific, and it's for an hour long, and they're gonna talk about um being successful making a successful podcast. I don't know if they're really going to talk about anything. I'm familiar with tuning into webinars, and for those of you who might not be, I'll just tell you how many webinars go. I've never actually gone to one of the Spotify webinars because they usually have them at weird times, like 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's like I'm usually kind of already busy doing other stuff. So the other ones I've signed up for, I've usually been busy, but this one I'll be driving halfway through it. I have an appointment at 10:30, so I'm going to leave at like 9:30. And if it starts at 9, I'll be able to start listening. I have to drop by the store real quick to pick something up at the auto parts store real quick, and I could still have my headphones in, my earbuds on, listening to it, and then when I get back in the car, I can put it back on. So that's probably what I'm going to be listening to while I'm driving. And my time, it's going to be on 9 to 10. And I think I'm going to be where I need to be, probably close to, if all goes well, like 10:20, 10:15. Um, so, you know, I'll get to listen to it most of the way, most of the drive. Um, but I hope that they have something good to say, something interesting to say, something helpful to say. Um, I can't be the only one who's having complaints about Spotify taking things over. And for me, it's ruined a lot of what I had going on. It's all the changes that they've made have not been helpful to my life. Um, it's too many changes too fast. A lot of us little people haven't really had the time to catch up. So I think I've explained it before, so I don't want to like, you know, beat a dead horse or whatever they say. I don't know why all these like weird references to stuff or figures of speech are so violent. It's always just like who would beat a dead horse? Like I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't want to just kind of like keep hammering the same topics over and over and over again. Um, and I don't want to be like a complete downer on here, but I mean, I feel like a lot of times people would rather, post something clickbaity, like how I made like $13,000 in like a month or whatever. And it's like, yeah, people do that. That happens. There are people out there making 13K a month off of certain things. Can you be one person that does that? Yes, you can do it too. Now, a person who isn't already some kind of an influencer or doesn't have some kind of niche or brand that's like super trendy right now, where you're very knowledgeable about it and able to kind of like promote yourself on multiple social media platforms and for free, um, it's very unlikely that a person can start a podcast and just automatically within 1 month start making that much money unless they put in, and for free, unless they put in a lot of work. I mean, basically the way you got to look at it is the way you get money with any monetized system is going to be through traffic. Traffic is going to be your number one um you know issue. um it's almost like, if you had a storefront, like a physical storefront, right, and you wanted to make, uh say it was something simple that someone's going to buy something from you, like a little gas station with a little snack. You know how you go inside and there's like coffee and snacks and like beverages and stuff. So you have like, a little snack shop, con- small little convenience store, like with a gas station attached with it, right? Most gas stations, it doesn't matter what the price is, you're gonna have people coming and getting gas. Now, are they always profitable and all that? I don't really know all the numbers on all that, but if you think about it, most of these stations, most of these places have, people coming in. They're strategically placed. They place them right off of the freeway ramps. They 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 put it right on like a busy corner that's like next to like a shopping plaza. And there's always, not always, but there's oftentimes two gas stations, like one right across from the other, of two different brands. I've heard that like a lot of times different people own, one person will own like two, and so one usually has like a cheaper price. It's like lower brand, like an Arco, and then like across the street there's like a Chevron or something like that. Um, and so I mean, I don't really care where people want to get their gas. I don't really know much about it. If the quality is really worse or better, I know people say that like if you get the low quality, it burns faster. I mean, I don't really know that for sure. Um, I'm used to driving in traffic all the time, so I can't really tell the difference. To me, it's all the same. My gas is always just burning all the time, so I don't really know the difference. But like I haven't calculated it in a way that I'm like, oh, like I'm significantly like wasting a half a tank if I get like cheap Arco gas compared to like Chevron or Mobile, or whatever, like whatever's supposed to be better. Like I don't really notice that big of a difference. I've noticed a little bit of a difference, but not like so much of a difference, because it's like you are still paying way less. So it's like I feel like it kind of evens out. Like you're paying way less for cheaper gas that might burn faster, or you're paying way more for gas that might not burn as fast. I mean, it's like I feel like at the end of the day, it evens out. Like I don't really know. Um, Maybe your car maintenance might have issues, but anyways, um, one thing that I've noticed, when it comes to like gas stations and those little convenience stores, you know, they're usually strategically placed. Now, if you were to open a storefront, a gas station with one of those little, snack stands, and it was literally in the middle of nowhere, like literally, like in some residential neighborhood, like not off of a main street, no huge sign popping up out of anywhere where you could just like see it from like a distance or whatever. You're not like up on a hill in a distance with like a big sign popping out above everything else. Like locals might go there, people might be able to find you on like an app if you're like on if you're a delivery driver and you're on Uber Eats and you need to find gas or something, it might pop up. Or if you go on Yelp, or if you go on your Google Maps or whatever, you might be able to just find the gas station in there. But usually people drive on busy like highway streets, right? Like usually when you're looking for gas, like at least if I'm looking for gas and I don't know where I'm at, right? Like if I'm just like I do this a lot. I'll be doing deliveries and I'm like, all right, it's probably a good time to like pull over and get gas. I'm not getting a lot of orders, and maybe I usually decide where a certain point is that I want my gas tank to be. And so usually once I'm approaching that, I'm like, all right, time to get gas. Like if it's like halfway, if I want it to stay half full or whatever, I'm like, okay, we're hitting that halfway point, and so I need gas. I'm not gonna usually just pull off of like a major highway street that's like next to like malls and shopping centers and stuff, and just go drive like into some residential area and expect to find a gas station like between two apartment buildings or whatever. Like I'm not gonna do that. Usually I'm gonna drive on major streets and I'm just gonna look around, and they're everywhere. Like this is LA, like they're everywhere. Like there's gas stations everywhere. Or I'll get on the freeway and go the direction I need to go and wait for like a major street exit and find the exit. There's almost always a gas station near a major freeway exit or entrance. Almost always, right? So you kind of know where to look, you know where to go. Um, and that's an example of kind of what organic traffic looks like. It's like people know where to find you, people know where to find this information. Like I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. I'm not telling you anything rocket science like, oh, if you need to find a gas station, make sure you don't drive around in like weird like rural residential areas, like if you need one, like find a freeway entrance or like major shopping center areas and stuff, and like you'll find a gas station there. Like I'm pretty sure most people already know that. Just If you drive, you know that. If you're out in the city, you know that. You're not going to assume something else, right? And it's kind of the same thing with traffic when it comes to any kind of website or anything like that. Uh you got to figure out how people are going to find you, right? So people find you by, it can just be like a search on Google or whatever search engine people decide they want to use. I mean, Spotify itself is a search engine as well. Um, so if people want to search, Tomboy Official, they're probably not going to automatically know to search that. That's not a term that people use necessarily. Even the term tomboy is kind of phased out. Like, people don't necessarily use that word like they used to. And especially with all the, gender related terminology that people are now more savvy to using, people usually choose one of those terms uh, more. Um, the reason why I like the word tomboy is because it's not like a very, like, it does have like a gendered connotation to it, but it's not like a gender identity necessarily. It's more of like a, it kind of represents more of like preferences, um and clothing style, and just kind of like style, hobbies, things like that. Is not so much, you know like how someone identifies with their pronouns necessarily. But it is kind of weird that it's got the word boy in it. But it's just one of those things. I'm like, I kind of like the word just because, it's kind of got some history behind it too. And it is a term that people still kind of know. um with a lot of the other terminology, it's like sometimes people don't know what it is, or it might be too scientific sounding or whatever. And I didn't really want to create a podcast name that was uh assuming something that it's not. um I mean, this podcast isn't necessarily about like pronouns and gender, identity. Is more so about expression sometimes. But lately, I'm just posting just rando kind of stuff that our people might want to hear. I feel like in LGBT spaces, and in minority spaces in general, conversations about money and all that aren't really things that people are always talking about. Depending on the groups, like different minority groups do talk a lot about money, and then some don't. So, but I feel like, with LGBT groups, there are a lot of people that have, you know, limited knowledge, or limited, um, they weren't taught certain things. Most people weren't taught very well about finances. But, if you just look at demographics and stuff too, with the amount of people who might get like, disowned in their youth, and people in the foster systems and things like that, it's like, people need to find other ways to make money that aren't relying on like expensive education. And, I think it serves the community well to talk about things that make money. Now, I'm not here to like make a bunch of like weird clickbait stuff, but, if I know of things that make money, I will try to talk about them. So when it comes to podcasting, that is one of those things that people really talk a lot about, that they're kind of like, oh yeah, make all this money. Whenever you see anybody saying that they want you to make money fast with some kind of website, any kind of website, a platform that already exists, or a website, you got to think traffic. How am I going to get traffic for free, right? You can pay for traffic if you have the money to do it. How am I going to get traffic for free? And am I selling something, or what is the monetization process like through whatever platform it is? So Spotify itself has a platform where you're monetized, and you are able to, you know well, you can get monetized. And the way to get monetized is within a 30-day period, you have to have 1,000, uh unique listeners to your podcast. Um, and once you have 1,000 unique listeners to your podcast, you basically um, qualify after that 30-day period to, you know, have a host read ad. So usually they'll tell you that before the beginning of the next month starts. And so it's October now, it's going to be November soon, sometime next week. And so next week, is when people, excuse me, are going to be, expected to, see if they're qualified for the host read ad. Uh, and that is by Spotify choosing that they're allowing you to have that, and then they give you the information and ability to click into this area of Spotify that you can record because you're the host. So it's an ad read by you, the host, that explains, basically you're promoting Spotify for podcasters. Um, and trying to get people to use it for free, and that's the host read ad. And this process happens every month. So you can be monetized or not monetized. You can stay monetized, but they review it every 30-day period. And it's on the new month, like the new month. It's not like I think it's 30 days, but then you get the ad ability at the beginning of the next month. But like right before the next month starts, they give you like a few days. So it's not like, you do have some time to record it. It gives you like a few days. So yeah, Spotify for podcasters is having this RSVP event that you're supposed to go to and figure out, how to improve. So I'm gonna go to that event online today and see if it's valuable in any method or form. But usually, what I would say, I mean, my own tips would be, build out your social media. That's probably the easiest way to get organic traffic because you could have people coming from YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I am not huge into that. It's just not always my thing personally. Um, Especially because I'm dealing with like multiple podcasts. I really don't want to be dealing with multiple, social media accounts and all this kind of stuff. Like I have them kind of up, but I don't really post on all of them. Because if I did, I'd be posting like all day, every day, and I've got other stuff I need to be doing. I can't just, it takes me a while. Like blog posts take me a while to write, YouTube videos take me a while. Even if I cut them up into shorts, they take me a while um, to kind of edit. Um, Twitter doesn't take long. Uh, Podcasting, because I usually do it in the morning, it doesn't take me, it takes me a while, but it's like I'm not doing anything else unless I'm doing it while I'm driving. Then that's another thing that I do sometimes too. Um, and then yeah, just in general, that's kind of how it looks. You got to think about those two things. The traffic and the monetization process. Um, Now, people who do well, a lot of times they either have a niche that they're really on point with, they are able to promote it, or they've got some other reason why people are coming to them, or they're just maybe they have like really good polished content. They're not like half sleepy at like five something in the morning. Um, there are reasons why people gravitate towards certain stuff. Um, Sometimes it's informative. People just want that information. So there are ways that kind of increase chances of getting more listeners. Um, but if you're not willing to do that or figure out what that is, it's going to be hard to actually monetize. It's not impossible. I'm not here to discourage people, but just beware. When people say you're going to make money fast, I mean, a lot of people want to make money fast and easy, And that's not always going to happen. It's not always going to be fast and easy. A lot of the online stuff that you see where people are making money is a slow process. It's not easy. A lot of times it's not free. Now, what I'm not saying that people need to do this, but what a lot of people do that they don't tell other people about, such as some people running an Etsy store and being like, I made like all these sales, or like, you know, having a podcast and being like, oh, like I got monetized in like 3 days or whatever, or like having like a YouTube channel and being like, oh, like I got all these subscribers or whatever. Um, if they're not putting in some work on one end, they're probably paying for something. They're probably paying for someone to promote them. They're probably paying for traffic. These are the things that you don't get to see, that people don't want to tell you. They just think, oh, you can sign up for my course and you can see how I did it. And it's like, but yeah, you paid like $8,000. That's why you got monetized, or that's why you're making all these sales on your Shopify store, because you paid so much money. It's like, of course you're going to make sales. Like, they don't tell you, like, a lot of times too, they'll tell you the revenue, they don't tell you the profit. So they'll tell you, I made $13,000, but it's like, cool, you made $13,000. What did you put in to make that much money? And when you subtract that out, were you profitable? You can make $13,000, but if I have to spend $8,000 to make $13,000, you know, I'm really profiting $5,000. Now that's a lot of money. I would say that's a decent investment. Um, but you are not getting a good return on your investment if you're not profiting more than what you put in. Now, if it's a one-time $8,000, I'm not saying to do this. Don't do this. Just don't do it. Just, I'm using examples. If it's a one-time put in $8,000 and make back $5,000 every month, then that's a pretty good investment, because you're making back, after 2 months you've made a $2,000 profit. And then from there on, it's a $5,000 profit every single month. That's pretty dang good money. But I wouldn't say go all in all at once. If you are gonna pay for traffic for things, do it little by little. um I mean, if you have the money to dish out and you just want to do it, that's up to you. But I would say don't just jump right in. Um but I mean, there's a lot of other more detailed information about how to make a podcast successful. It just takes a lot of work. If you want to just do it organically from scratch, it's going to take a lot of work. Um, like I've mentioned, I've had 4 podcasts for about, I think November is going to be about 3 whole years. Um, and so they're established. So if I do go on there and start posting regularly, then definitely like listenership, everything kind of goes up, because it's already established. Now I've started new podcasts, um not ones that I'm like really deeply into, but I started it just to try. Like during summer, I started one that was connected to an e-commerce store. I don't know why. Like, I was just like, well, maybe it'll get more traffic to the store, but I was having hard enough time getting traffic to the podcast itself. After like a month of posting, I don't think it even got really any listeners, maybe one that I recall. And I was posting the episodes to TikTok or Instagram or something, like just snippets of them. Uh, and the store was getting a lot of traffic. It was getting a lot of traffic from TikTok, but the podcast wasn't. And I'd been posting episodes that had done well on my other podcasts just to test them out, and I was getting like nothing really back. So it is hard to start like a brand new podcast. Sometimes you have to just start recording and put out a bunch of episodes and then wait. And the more you post, the more traffic you get. And so that does help. That does work for the most part. But that's kind of how people can make money with podcasting. I'm not saying people always do. I'm not saying you will. I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying it's not the fastest method all the time. Um, there are other methods to just make money, but usually a lot of times, when these platforms start changing stuff like they have recently this year, the money, like they say, the money gets a little funny. It really does get a little funny. You're not really easily as able easily able to make money as compared to how it was in the past. So that's the reality of things with this online world of trying to make a buck. Um, but I feel like as long as you're trying to provide some kind of quality, that's good. I like doing the morning episodes. They're kind of like a hey, wake up kind of thing. I try not to make them too heavy. Um, but sometimes that's just how my brain is in the morning. It's just like, you know, I'm just like anybody else. I can have a head filled with negativity too, like, and it can be hard for me to like snap out of it. Um, because I do have a lot to be grateful for. Like, I'm not gonna even like pretend like I don't. But, it can be easy to see all the things that are easy to be frustrated with. But I try to be informative, but I know I'm pretty vague because this isn't like a deep class. Like, it's just ideas. If you want to try something, I'd say try it for free, see how you like it, follow the people who are doing well. Don't just copy them, but follow the methods that they use. If you see how Joe Rogan does his stuff, he posts like clips of his episodes on YouTube. You can't get the full episodes all the time on YouTube, but if you go to Spotify, you have the whole full video version of his episodes. And I think for me, his podcast is the only one I actually watch on Spotify. I don't really like look at it all the time. I'll be listening in the background because they're so long. Like, it takes me days to finish an episode because they're like sometimes they're like an hour 45 minutes, sometimes they're like 3 hours long almost. So I listen like when I'm driving around. I'll just put it on and it's like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Maybe at the gym, I'll listen to it maybe depending if the topic's interesting to me. Um, and I kind of always have something to kind of listen to in the background that's slightly educational. I like to post stuff that's more about like ideas for people to kind of use to try to do stuff that they find kind of interesting. Uh, Kind of projects, because I really thrive on having projects. I'm not very good at only working or only studying and not having anything creative to do. Like, that to me is like the dullest world possible. It's like I like to make stuff, I like to create things, I like to learn, and I like to move forward with stuff, and I get a lot more motivation out of that. So, um, I know I'm not the only one, so that's why I try to post about it, just because I know that like a lot of people kind of have that style of living where they kind of just enjoy things in that way as well. But we'll be talking a little bit more. I'll see if I learn anything from this webinar today. And I hope it's not completely a waste of an hour of time. But I'll never know until I actually tune in. So we'll see. We'll see if they're trying to pitch some kind of course at the end. We'll see if they're trying to pitch some kind of like subscription that you have to pay more to kind of use so that they can promote you more often. That's not very uncommon. Like, you see it on eBay, you see it on OfferUp. They're like, "Oh, you can post your stuff for free, but if you want us to promote it, you got to pay us like $2.99 or whatever, and we'll promote it and you'll sell it 2 times faster, but then you have to spend more money to sell it." So it's like, yeah, we'll promote your podcast, but are they trying to like upsell you now that you're on for free? Like, what is this about? Are they really just going to provide free information with no kind of little plug. Let's see what happens. And I'll report back if it's something worth talking about. Um, but with that, if you're gonna start a pod, go ahead, start one. Like I would recommend it at the very least for creativity. It's fun to do. It's productive. Um, you never know who you might be reaching with certain topics. Some people might just be entertained or want to hear what you have to say or need to hear what you have to say. Um, that's always nice to come across.